Joining me on the phone is retired Marine General John Kelly, President Trump's former Chief of Staff and the former Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. General Kelly, thanks so much for joining us. I know you've been distressed by a lot of the things you've seen since leaving the White House. What was your reaction to what you saw yesterday?
Well, I was horrified. It's an unbelievable scene at the Capitol. Frankly, the president's action words didn't surprise me at all, but I was very, very surprised that those people would assault the People's House, do the damage they did, and embarrass us all.
Attorney General Barr has accused President Trump of, quote, orchestrating a mob to pressure Congress. Do you agree, and do you think that President Trump has blood on his hands? There were 4 people killed yesterday.
You know, the president knows who he's talking to when he tweets or when he makes statements. He knows who he's talking to, and he knows what he wants them to do. And the fact that he said the things he's been saying, since the election, and encouraging people, no surprise again at what happened yesterday.
How much blame do you lay at the feet of those who, along with the president, have pushed these deranged election lies, Senator Cruz or Kevin McCarthy? Well,
you know, my strong feeling is so long as there was a possibility, you know, in the courts that the election could be proven to be, you know, inaccurate or fraudulent or something, the process, you know, is designed to work, and it was working. I'm just surprised that members of Congress, you know, and they have to look themselves in the mirror, but just surprised that members of Congress that were encouraging, not necessarily the behavior yesterday, but encouraging presidents. And very, very few, certainly this is 2 years ago this month I left the White House. Very, very few of them were, you know, looking the president in the eye and telling him what he was considering. This is back then, what he was considering was wrong or whatever. But as I say, they have to live with themselves. But I don't believe they were encouraging that action at the Capitol yesterday.
No, I guess not. But I guess the point is, when you see this angry mob, they have been fed these lies now for years, but specifically about the election since November. And they were obviously, they believed them. They believed these lies. And it's not just President Trump telling them. It's you know, it's anchors at other news channels. I shouldn't say news. Anchors at other channels, and Kevin McCarthy and Hawley, and you know, 126 members of the House, Republicans, signed on to that crazy lawsuit from the Attorney General of Texas. Do they bear some responsibility, I guess? Because I mean, this mob was angry because they believed these lies.
Yeah, I mean, to some level, some responsibility for sure. But again, it was the president over these weeks and months that has been stirring these folks up. And what would happen yesterday was probably somewhat predictable. And again, his response yesterday afternoon was just totally ridiculous. And you know, I watched President Biden's speech yesterday afternoon. I saw Mitch McConnell's comments before the riot. There are 2 men talking to the country in the way the country needs to be spoken to. And the president, in my view, has never spoken to the country. He's just spoken to his base.
There's now talk of invoking the 25th Amendment to try to get the cabinet to remove President Trump from office. It's not just Democrats saying, it's Republicans too, including Adam Kinzinger, the congressman from Illinois, former Republican Congressman Paul Mitchell of Michigan. Do you support such an action? Should he be removed by the cabinet?
I think, Jake, that the cabinet should meet and have a discussion. I don't think it'll happen, but I think the cabinet should meet and discuss this, because the behavior yesterday and the weeks and months before that has just been outrageous from the president. And what happened on Capitol Hill yesterday is a direct result of his, you know, poisoning the minds of people with the lies and the frauds.
You were a former member of the cabinet, and in addition to being a White House Chief of Staff, if you were in the cabinet right now, would you vote to remove him from office?
Yes, I would. The one thing we have going for us here, Jake, is it's only 13 more days. And no one, as indicated yesterday by our vice president, no one around him anymore is going to break the law. He can give all the orders he wants. No one is going to break the law. And we saw Mike Pence, Vice President Pence, stand his ground yesterday.
Nobody around him will, but he's got this mob of ardent supporters who are willing to break the law. Are you worried about what he might do in these last 13 days?
No longer. I mean, again, this is so enraged. What happened yesterday so enraged the country and has turned most of the country back onto the right course, and that is a course that no longer listens to Donald Trump. Sure, there'll be some the core of the core, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. And we have, magnificent police, federal agents. Everyone's on heightened alert. I wouldn't worry about it. And I know you have people like Chris Wray at the FBI, and all of them, all of the leadership and the law enforcement and the intel, working to prevent anything that he might want to do in the next 13 days. And I would also argue, Jake, for these people, particularly the people in our national security, Homeland Security, DOD, Chris Wray, to stay on the job. Don't resign. We need people at the top to see this thing through. It's only 13 more days.
Do you worry what it might mean for the nation if there end up being no consequences for President Trump beyond his losing the election?
I think, I'm not a lawyer, but I think his actions yesterday and before that, his phone call to the Georgia delegate or to the Georgia officials. I mean, I think these things have to be looked into. But most importantly, he's gone in 13 days.
Multiple people told CNN that President Trump was borderline enthusiastic over the riots. Does that surprise you?
Not at all. I mean, I worked very, very closely every day for 18 months with the president. And from a distance, it's impossible to understand who he actually is. But when you work closely with him, you understand very, very, he's a very, very flawed human being. It doesn't surprise me. And in fact, when I left the White House, I really implored the president to hire the right guy to be his chief of staff, someone who will tell him the truth, someone who will try to keep him on the straight and narrow. I said, please don't hire a bootlicker or a yes man, because you will be impeached. And towards the end of my time there, all I ever heard from some of the real devotees in the White House was, you got to let Trump be Trump. Let Trump be Trump. My replacement. Well, let me just say, this is what happens. Yesterday and other things he's done in the last 2 years comes as a result of letting Trump be Trump.
Well, your replacement was Mick Mulvaney, who is obviously one of Trump's biggest enablers when he was chief of staff. He's now resigned from the Trump administration. He was he had some position, but he wasn't chief of staff anymore. He explained in an op-ed that President Trump, in his view, is, quote, not the same as he was 8 months ago, unquote. Is that true? Or is Mulvaney engaging in some revisionism to try to save his reputation, or what's left of it?
Well, again, I go back 3.5 years. I didn't know the president before I took the job at DHS. I was there for 6 months. I very seldom saw the president, mostly because what I was seeing in the White House was pretty chaotic. And again, I don't need to be too close to the flagpole. When I took over, when I was drafted into the chief's position, I got to know the president very, very, very well. I don't think he's changed one little bit. When the guardrails were off, it's very predictable that he'll do the kind of things he's been doing. And of course, he's enraged because he's lost an election. He's a laughingstock now, and he's striking out. But again, someone needs to help, manage him. And I don't think those people took up the task when I left. It
Right.
was hard enough when I was there.
Right.
But, as I used to say to the president, you can fire me. I'll be a hero. I can quit. I'll be a hero. You need to listen to me, sir. You need to listen to me. And you need to listen to the cabinet and the experts we bring in here and make the best decisions for our country, for our country.